Hello, one and all, and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland. I will try and be a host tonight. It's me, OG, coming to you live. Actually, this was recorded from Canada. And I'm joined tonight by two of my fellow North Americaners. First one, living in Vancouver now for so long, he's practically Canadian. Dom, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, don't let the accent confuse you. This is just the Vancouver accent. I'm still Canadian.
East Van. That's an East Van accent.
No. You don't want to go there. Trust me.
Very good. Happy after the weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining to watch that game, which has been not necessarily a brand of football that we've been used to so far, but much better.
Very good. On to my next guest, the mouth of the South, coming from North Carolina, Shredder. How are you?
I'm good. Sitting here, as usual. I have a drink with me, and looking forward to a fun conversation, especially after a clean sheet on Thursday and then 5 goals yesterday. What's not to be thrilled about?
And what's your drink of choice this evening?
This evening, I'm going with America's Bargain Basement Hams, which is an absolute stunner of a beer, and it's $12.99 for a case of 24. So.
Yeah, it's not even available in Canada. It's that good.
Yeah, it was the hipster that sold it to me at the bar one of the first times I had it. Told me that it was what we served the GIs in Vietnam. So real colonialization going on over here in North Carolina still.
And how's the weather down in North Carolina right now?
Still hot as hell. So it was not almost 90 degrees today with about 90% humidity.
Unbelievable. So. All right, without further ado, let's introduce the man who's pushing all the buttons, including mine. It's Danny. How are you?
I've only got one button, and I've been polishing that red button all day, ready for this. Yeah, I'm good.
God.
I'm drinking my Lacazette Zero, and I've had to take my snood off.
No one's going to jump in on that?
I mean, just leaving it hanging.
Yeah,
just leave that one alone, I think. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Too polite. All right, moving into the show then tonight, we've got a couple of games to run down, listeners' questions as usual. I think we're going to touch on the Adidas kit deal as well, and a little bit of the upcoming questions, of course, Fife's Forum later on. So let's get right into it. Dom, I want to come to you first. Arsenal 3, Qarabag 0. What are your thoughts on that game in the Europa League in Azerbaijan?
I guess it was good to see a different squad get run out. And I also think that it was interesting that we went sort of a little bit more pace and width on the wings, which definitely seemed to help the flow of our attacking play. And maybe that was a influential kind of thing that the manager saw that changed the setup for the Fulham game too. So, yeah, interesting team selection there. But, I mean, we should be going away and beating that kind of team, shouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like your point there. You've been a guy who's been very vocal, along with myself, about using wingers in this team and getting some width. Shredder, talk to me about the use of wingers in that Europa League game, as well as maybe what we saw a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, I think it's the times when we have played this season with sort of our most effectiveness has been when we've had wings. We've had players like Mkhitaryan in the match to link up with, players like Bellerin coming down the side. That gives Bellerin another outlet to use when he's attacking, because typically Mkhitaryan does tend to hang around sort of the right side of that 18 box, and he can underlap Bellerin. Bellerin can overlap him, and we can really cause teams down that side. And on the left, we all know what Nacho brings us, and it's been really interesting, with Aubameyang out there. And this time we brought in Iwobi. People thought he was going to play centrally. He did. He was on the left. And, against Fulham, he did really well. And I think that's when we've done the best. And we really used that with some effectiveness against Qarabag on Thursday, even with Emile Smith-Rowe as well. So it's really positive to see that. And I think that's probably what we're going to need to do. And it's going to be tough to shoehorn a couple players in, but you get players like Iwobi who's coming onto form. You got players like Welbeck who can also play out there with some pace. And you get Mkhitaryan out there who likes to link up with his fullbacks, and we can really make some things happen, not just through the middle, but out wide, and give defenses another thing to think about.
You raised some great points there. You mentioned the youngster Emile Smith-Rowe. Danny, we rotated, but we still had a fairly strong team in Azerbaijan. And we also got to see 3 brand new goal scorers for Arsenal. Socrates himself with a potential Puskas Award winner. Very reminiscent of the
cracker that
Scorpion
was.
kick. Yeah, unbelievable. And he saw it all the way. So
he knew what he was doing.
Just like you do in training. Danny, who were you most impressed with from that game on Thursday night? Was there anyone that stuck out for you?
Well, sadly, the one I was most unimpressed with was El Neni, but the whole formation thing is. It was hard to say who I was because I think he realised quite early on it wasn't going to work. Sockpat was brilliant. Leno made some magnificent saves because they were really honest for the first half, and it looked quite difficult. Welbeck was just his usual, I will work my arse off in any position that you play me. And Smith Rowe, I'd probably say Smith Rowe was the one I was most happy with because. That for when he laid the goal off to didn't he get an assist for one of the goals? No, he didn't. Oh no, it was he was attacking on the edge of the box and he ran in there and he had the shot and then the ball come back to him when someone made a sliding tackle and then in an instant he went, I'm not going to have another shot. This isn't going to work. And he passed it off to another player. And that is a sign of maturity and confidence that in the whole team together. He didn't panic. He didn't do what in the old days we would have called an Iwobi and just put it in row Z. And even Iwobi, he played all right. But for me, the 2 most important on the night was Leno. Because he's now building a legacy there with his performances. He saves. He does different kinds of saves, the kind of saves that we don't usually see from Petr Cech. And although I still think Petr Cech is our number 1, I was listening to another podcast, and Craig said as trained as a goalkeeper, he was trained never to punch the ball out. But I thought Leno was going up, and he was 2 fist punching those balls away. So it's not like he was giving it one feeble hand and it was going back out into the middle of the our area and someone else to have a shot. He was clearing that almost off to the out to the touch lines. Are they called touch lines, or am I doing a Jason and picking up? I'm using rugby terminology when I don't even watch rugby. And Holding was brilliant as well. So there's so many good things from that team. It's just brilliant that everybody is being rotated, whether it's the League Cup, it's the Europa League, the Premier League. Everyone has been moved around, and that kind of I think that is building massive team confidence, which we're seeing every single game now. It's just wonderful. I'm moist with excitement. What did you think about it?
Well, I thought to your point, it's nice to see some rotation in the squad, and it's also nice to see some different goal scorers. I was really pleased for Guendouzi when he scored, and it was nice to see that he ran over to it was Lacazette, I think, that he celebrated with. They've seen sort of a French connection there. Lacazette, Aubameyang, who of course speaks French. Guendouzi has really struck up a nice partnership and on and off the pitch, it seems. So it's nice to see the goals get scored. It's nice to see Leno, as you say, get another game under his belt. I've been really impressed with him from what I've seen. Cech hardly put a foot wrong in terms of what he's done this season, other than as distribution of the back that's been covered in so many pods. We don't really need to go into it. But I have been impressed. Leno, as you say, he clears the ball. He comes for it very strong, especially in the air. Which you always sort of wonder about coming to the English league. And it's nice to see that he, again, got another game under his belt with that defense ahead of him. Holding as well has been another guy who's come in, and it's been pretty much seamless for him since he's come in over the last few weeks with some injuries. So, again, a guy who I have big hopes for in the squad. He's very assured on the ball. I mean, he's been something special since that FA Cup final against Chelsea a couple seasons ago, and it was a fun game to watch for sure. Anyone else want to throw in their thoughts? Dom, do you have any further thoughts on the game against Qarabag before we move on?
No, other than what we've seen in the last few years in terms of when we'd go and change the team too much, it was a gong show, wasn't it? Every time that we went and had a big squad change, it was just there was no structure, there was no flow. Even though we changed formations, because we did have a back 3 in this game initially, it does seem like the team's starting to get that systematic vibe, which I think is very, very important. Rather than just reliance on individual talent, to have a structure and a system in place that, no matter who's playing, if it's Lichtsteiner or if it's Bellerin, they both play the same role. They know when to go forward, when to stay back, what to do. And all the other players around them being a little bit more systematic definitely helps you, be able to rotate your team like we did, but still be able to, continue on growing as a team and performing and hopefully taking that forward.
It's brilliant, though, isn't it? That the manager will go, oh, this isn't working, right? Change it, and that's what we've wanted for so long. It's just so refreshing to see when normally we'd be going, this three at the back isn't working. They're doing us down the sides. Kolasinac isn't able to. He's not fully fit. He's not fully match fit. He's not able to run up and down there. You've got him and Monreal getting mixed up together. You've got Monreal going too far forwards, and then he's gone, no, I'll change it, and it worked. It's brilliant.
One thing I will say with the formation itself, just having three at the back, I think allowing you to do that, you can actually almost put three up front then and go 3-4-3, or almost 3-4-1-2, and have Ozil right in behind Aubameyang and Lacazette, and play both of your strikers centrally where they both want to be right off each other. And then you also have Mesut Ozil probably in his best position, right behind a couple of strikers, but not quite in the deepest part of your midfield, sort of controlling the strings on the attack. And I think my initial thought going in when I saw that formation is that's how we would start to set up a little bit more. Obviously, we didn't do that on Sunday, but I thought that was sort of one of the main drivers in this, was trying to see if there's another way that we can, instead of shoehorning players, that are great and playing well together into these places, and some of them aren't happy and some of them aren't playing as well as they can, try to find a formation that doesn't shoehorn as many people in, that you've got the players for, and that fit the most people, your biggest talents, strengths. I think that's what I took away from sort of this, was him trying to figure out another formation for us to use to pick out sort of our best players' best strengths and play to that.
There is one thing. Oh, go on, Jeff.
I was just going to say, you guys raised a lot of good points, actually, and it's something that sort of struck me, is that we're picking very strong lineups for our Europa League, and I've got to have a feeling that Emery is using those additional games to bed the players into a system. But what's also interesting, and Shredder, you kind of talked a little bit about this, they're playing three at the back. We're not playing any one single formation this season. We saw probably closer to a 4-4-2 on the weekend. And then, as you mentioned, against Qarabag, three at the back with more wing backs or attacking wing backs. It's been kind of an interesting piece, along with the lack of trepidation to switch things up when they're not working. And I don't know right now what our strongest lineup is, and I actually don't know right now what our strongest formation is. And I think combine that with the fact that he is getting the team to do their homework, following on with the video clips, and really preparing for upcoming opponents. That's got to be tricky for our opponents to prepare for, especially if you don't really quite know exactly what they're going to face. Danny, have you noticed that? Have you seen anything in the formation? Is there a formation that you like the best so far this season?
I like the one with the 4-2-3-1, but like you were saying, that I've just put in our little information thing that we started with the 4-2-3-1 or slight variants of that all season for the first 9 games, and then we played the 3-4-2-1 against Qarabag, like we just said, and then the weekend we played a variation of 4-4-2. Now that kind of 4-4-2 was Welbeck and Lacazette up front together, was it? At the start, I can't remember, and then they changed it in the second half. He put Aubameyang up there, because this website I use, it shows you the games, the tactics once the game is finished. So I'm just going to go back and have a look at the Fulham one. Yeah, so we started off with Lacazette and Welbeck up front together, and then when Welbeck came off, it was Aubameyang and Lacazette up front, and that's what we've wanted to see all season. And I don't know if it was because we were playing Fulham, I don't know if it's because we're on a great run and everyone's full of confidence, but to come on as a sub and to get 2 goals and set up another goal, the whole team seemed to flow magnificently when he did see that. So I know it's a bit old school to go 4-4-2 or a variation of it, but I really do like the 4-4-2, because then you're making the absolute best out of Lacazette and Aubameyang, and to a lesser extent Welbeck. But then we've seen all season, we've been saying it show after show, it's not really Ramsey's fault. It's not really Ozil's fault. It doesn't seem to have that Emery doesn't have plans to play a normal number 10. But in his other time with other clubs, PSG and Sevilla, this is the formation that he played with the 3 up front, not the 2. But I liked it. I thought it was interesting.
What is your thoughts, OG, on formations in general, because it does seem like they're kind of just a trend, doesn't it? You know, like when Arsene took over, he did this 4-4-2, and that was the vogue for a while. And then Mourinho did this 4-2-3-1, and everyone copied that. And then just recently there was a back three that Chelsea did that everyone started to copy. And now it's, you know, sort of back to I know Real Madrid were doing a 4-4-2 in recent times, and now it sort of seems to go back to that. Like, do you just think that it's just a case of, you know, the old becoming new again, or whatever is working, you got to change to counter it?
I think probably a little bit of both there, Dom. You know, I think you've seen a number of different formations under Wenger. One of the ones I really liked was when he played almost asymmetrically. So he had one of the wingers play a little bit more centrally. He used to do that when Diaby played. But I think really what it's all about is just trying to find the space on the pitch and trying to get that upper hand on the opponent. So we tend to see very fluid teams. I think the difficulty with changing it a lot, especially with the new manager, is trying to get the players to understand what you ultimately want out of the system. The fact that we're now, 10, 11, 12 games in kind of thing with all competitions, and we're starting to change it, tells me that the players are starting to understand what Emery's vision is. I had a feeling that 4-4-2 would have been our best lineup going into the season, but that was really based on who we had available. And I actually was thinking more of a 4-4-2 with a diamond midfield without that width. It's not that I don't like the width. In fact, I would prefer it, but we just don't seem to have natural wingers. I mean, I think Iwobi looked pretty good out there. He has looked pretty good out there. Danny looked good out there on the weekend. Danny Welbeck, not Danny the GFP, although I'm sure you would have looked phenomenal on the touchline. You were sleeping.
I didn't even see the game.
But, you know, we didn't bring any wingers in. We don't really have a guy who you would say, here, this guy's a winger. So I thought more of a diamond with Torreira at the base of the diamond and sort of a Ramsey, Xhaka, Guendouzi in those two central positions, and then Ozil or Mkhitaryan up at the top of the diamond. We haven't really seen that. I think he played it in one of the preseason games. I want to say when we were in Singapore, we might have seen the diamond, and it didn't really look great. I'm actually thrilled now to see us attacking with width. And the reason that I like that is because it doesn't put as big of a reliance on Hector and Nacho to get forward. And I think early in the season, our balance was really kind of wonky. We were playing a lot in the defensive third. And then the goals that we conceded quite a few in our opening games, were because Hector in particular was getting caught too far forward. So he was going a lot and trying to figure out when he was coming back. With wingers, then he can still go, but he's got sort of that natural coverage, and it's not one of the center mids who's got to shift over. So I'd like to see more with some width, whether that's a 4-4-2, a 3-5-2, 4-5-1, one of the formations. I think a lot of times we probably don't actually know what it is, and relying on the graphic ahead of the game is not the most reliable as well. But I would like to see some width. I'd love to see us bring in a tricky winger in the transfer window, but perhaps it's a little early to be talking about that. Shredder, what do you any thoughts on formation and what we've been talking about?
I really like that we're adapting, and we're making changes when they're needed, and we're not rigid. We're not doing any one thing. We're playing to our strengths. And, I think they were hidden last year, but I really believed coming into the season that we had a lot of strengths, and looks like we are playing to those and to those players and to the talent level that we have, which is one of the most encouraging things. But yeah, just the fact that we are able to change and put people in differently, and that it is that systematic sort of, everybody knows what to do when they do go on the pitch in their role. And that's been a huge key. So it's nice that we have different formations and can play them. We just got to make sure that the winning continues.
I've got a couple of things before we move on. Jeff, you were saying we played 4-4-2 in a friendly. It's when we played Lazio, beat them 2-0, and we started with Lacazette and Nketiah up front, and had Reece Nelson on the right, Iwobi on the left with Xhaka and Torreira in the middle. Was that the game you're on about?
Yeah, I think so. Where did we play them? Was that the one in Sweden?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the game.
Yeah,
That's
we're beaten 2-0. Nelson scored and Aubameyang scored. I've got a question for Dom. Dom, being the bloke that you are, that you can read stuff into stuff, there's been a bit of a spat between Ozil and Emery. Now, there was no need for Ozil to go to Azerbaijan, let alone come on with 20 minutes, half hour to go, however much it was. Do you think that was Emery making a statement that if I want you to come, you're coming, and if I want you to come on when there's no need for you to come on, you're coming on?
Look, it could also be a fitness thing. It could also be that he needed a little run out. He needed a 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. And we saw on the weekend he didn't play due to, back spasms. And that's the difficult part with this whole thing with Ozil and Emery and the team and everything at the moment, where you just don't know what the truth is. And I'm sure regardless of what comes out, people's agendas are going to shine through. So if they don't like Ozil, then it's all going to be negative. And if you do like Ozil, then, you're going to spin it so that it's all good and positive. But I think that it's good that Emery, if so, that Emery's basically saying, look, you're an employee and a part of this team, and therefore you're required to play when I require you to play. I think that's pretty simple. And if Mesut Ozil can't sort of grasp that or understand that, then maybe he's in the wrong business, because whether it's, a Capital One Cup game away against a team that's, 14th in Division 3, then guess what? You've got to go and do it.
Let's move on to the Fulham game, and what a game it was. I think from a performance perspective, arguably one of our best performance of the season so far. To a bit of a weak fart of a Fulham team that we saw. I'm going to go over to you, OJ. I want you to talk us through the game, in particular, the lineup and specifically some of the things that you might have seen on the pitch, and then we're going to get into talking about some of the goals. Go for it.
So, my initial thought was, oh wow, not the players I thought would be playing are playing. I'm just sort of used to you go back to your quote unquote first 11 after Europa League or whatever, and then you rotate them in. But we still made 6 changes from the side that had played the match before as well. So new formation. People said it was a 4-4-2. There are definitely times when it looked like almost like a 4-2-3-1 with like Lacazette, behind Welbeck, like dropping deep at times, but definitely 4-4-2 at times as well. And it was definitely open from the beginning. Leno made a great save in I think the second or third minute, and we had another chance pretty quickly right after that. The ball just barely missed getting to Mkhitaryan in the box. And we came out the gates, but fair play to Fulham. They, people talk about how poor they were. I think we were just that good, because I think it was. I've watched them a couple times this season. That was one of their better matches, and they still had 49% of the ball. And I think that was one of the things we did in this match was we sort of just would invite the pressure on and then put that press on and win the ball, and then quickly get up the pitch. And I think that's sort of the main takeaway from this match is the fact that we played well positionally without the ball, which we haven't done for so long now. And we're finally able to let a team sort of come on to us without us just dropping back into 2 banks of 4 or anything like that. We can actually keep our position. We can press correctly, win the ball back, and then tick over possession and attack them while their men down instead of that happening to us. So it was really positive to see, and I think that was just my biggest takeaway was that we allowed them a lot of. I think they ended up having like 49% of the ball. So we let them have a lot of the ball and just sort of let them make the mistakes and then make sure that we capitalize on it when we had it. And we did a great job of that on Sunday. And it was fantastic to see. And, all of the goals, I know the Ramsey goal we'll get on to in a minute, but all the goals were so great in their own right. And they may not have had the team link up in the one-touch sort of play that they had, but Mustafi was winning a ball, getting up, kept possession, kept the ball moving, pushed it forward. We scored off of that. There were plenty of times in the match where everything clicked for us. And you said it was arguably our best game. It was inarguably our best game in my opinion. Nothing has sort of come even as close to it. Even Qarabag on Thursday, we had some times where we let a really inferior team, and maybe we were inviting that pressure, but we let them, I think, sort of overrun us at times in the midfield. And I never quite felt that way this match, especially with you got players in there like Sherla and Siri who you've sort of been taught to fear, and maybe after watching that match you understand why they're at Fulham and not a bigger club.
You raised some really good points there. I want to come on to one of them that you had mentioned. It was how quickly we moved the ball forward. I think when I watched a lot of the games kind of up until this particular game, we've played a lot in our back third, and we haven't moved the ball quick enough forward, and I think it's really negated a lot of our attacking play. But this game was different. It felt different. We moved the ball quite quickly forward, and that allowed our attackers to have a really, really decent game, especially through the wings with Welbeck, as you mentioned. Iwobi had a great game. I'll hold my hands up. I'm not a massive Iwobi fan, but he's played excellent the last few weeks. And so it was sort of more decisive or incisive, if you will, in terms of back to front. And it was more of a balanced performance in terms of a team effort, which I think really showed in the scoreline. So some encouraging things there. Dom, what did you think about how we played that game? And we're not going to talk about Ramsey's goals just yet, because I want you to talk about that specifically in just a moment. But just give me your thoughts about how we played yesterday.
Yeah, like you and Shrez just said, it was the transition from back to front. And I'm just looking at some stats here. They've had 12 shots total at our goal, only 4 of them on target. We had 9, but 7 were on target. And what that sort of shows you is that we're getting into good goal-scoring positions to score 5 from 7 on target. We're not kicking the ball sideways, letting a team get back and sit back in 10 behind the ball and try to force our way through. And that does come down to Fulham actually trying to play football against us a little bit too. And this is the thing, that maybe the next time we go out and play a lesser side, they look at that and go, well, hey, if we try and play against this team, they're gonna be, it's very dangerous to do that. So I don't expect every team to come out and just play like Fulham did, but hats off to them for having a go. But you're right, it's that transition from back to front, whether it was, Leno and Torreira and Xhaka moving the ball faster, but it was also the fact that Iwobi and Welbeck were finding the space down the wings, which I think is, if we want to play this way and we're happy to let teams have the possession a little bit and we want to hit them on the counter-attack, I think it's extremely important that we have that pace and players willing to run into those positions. I do also want to give a little nod to Hector Bellerin, because I feel like he had a lot of criticism last season, and he's just quietly going about his business so far with not that much help on that right side. He's not really having a really good defensively solid person in that right-sided wing position that's helping him out. But I feel like he's just improved that little bit. What do you think?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Even from earlier in the season, the Chelsea game in particular, I thought he really struggled with his positioning and when to go forward and when to stay. But he seems to be coming into his own and to your point, had a terrific game. 1 assist, I think, maybe 2.
He's been on the assist board quite a lot, because the kid's doing some running though. Holy moly, he's going to need a rest soon, because he has been up and down that. Because I feel like it's when we didn't have that width, and we, a few games earlier without the Iwobis and Welbecks playing, it was kind of his job to get forward and overlap and create the width. And yeah, he's the poor kid's done his fair share of running, that's for sure.
But I tell you what, just on that point where he's due for a break, it's probably one of the first times in a long time I'm not really too concerned about his coverage, because Lichtsteiner still looks like he's got some legs, even at the ripe old age of 31, Danny?
34, I think.
34.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching him in the World Cup, and he still got it. So for him to be a replacement or some coverage through some of the weaker squads that we may play, I'm totally not worried about that. Not, you know, in the past where we've been looking at the bench going, who do we have to cover in those outside fullback positions? But yeah, he's played definitely very well, and he did look good again yesterday, which is nice to see. So good on him. The vegan's doing well. Danny, your thoughts on the Fulham match? And before I ask you specifically, one of the things, again, that sort of disappeared yesterday was this sort of defend, and then around the 70th, 75th minute, boom, 2 goals and sort of rope-a-dope, we've won the game. That's sort of been characteristic in a lot of the games this season. Completely gone. We look pretty comfortable from start to finish yesterday. What did you think? I mean, you were sleeping. So maybe you didn't think much, but I'm assuming you watched it when you woke up.
Yeah, I downloaded it and legally and watched the whole thing again. People have been misled in the media because the media have been reporting that Fulham played 3 at the back. They didn't. They played virtually 5 at the back because he played the 3 central defenders, Marchand, Riemann, Odie, and then Sessegnon plays anywhere down the left-hand side. And for me, was the most amazing player in the Championship last season, and he has done nigh on nothing in the Premier League this season. Fulham started the season off pretty well, and I'd expected a lot from him and Seri, who Chris rates a lot. So he was on the left, and on the right was Christie. So quite a lot of the time they were playing 5 men in defence, and with Seri there being able to boss the midfield a little bit. For me, there was only one of their players that looked half decent, and that was Schürrle, and that was up until the first half. So for us to go 1-0 up, and then they get their goal from Monreal making a boo-boo, which is good to see that we can still make a boo-boo without Cech being there. So it doesn't just show that Cech can't cope with it. Still, everyone is getting used to it. But they recovered perfectly from it. And then to go in at 1-1, I thought, oh, here we go. I mean, I knew the result was 5-1, but I thought, here we go. This looks like they've got 5 at the back. They're just going to shut up shop, and then it's going to be we're going to struggle to maybe get 2-1. But like you said, rather than getting all the goals when they run out of steam, and then we're still doing well. But I think one of the turning points was Ramsey coming on and get that goal after 39 seconds, and then that magnificent celebration, and then he got an assist for another one. And how often does a player come on in a Premier League game away and get Aubameyang, get 2 goals and an assist and look brilliant? And the celebration in the first half when Lacazette scored and he ran up to Aubameyang, or was it the other way around in the second half? I can't remember. I've saved. In fact, I used a picture in one of the tweets today when we were asking for questions. I expected more from Fulham, and to go there and get that win, which is, I think, so far this season, that has been our most impressive win. We conceded a goal, but that was an error. That wasn't them breaking us down. That was a small error by Monreal. But I agree with what Dom said. Bellerin first half was shocking, and to pull your socks up and go out there in the second half and have the kind of second half that he did, I think some people were saying he should have got about a rating of 4 or 5 for the first half, and about 7 or 8, maybe even 8 and a bit for the second half was really good. But the one thing that did concern me a little bit was another really quiet game from Mkhitaryan. I don't know what's going on with him. A lot of people have saying that the end of last season he was pretty good for us, especially on his debut, and since then he's not really doing much, is he? And that's beginning to worry me, because I think that's why there is talk of we possibly in the market for a right-sided winger, because it doesn't look like Mkhitaryan's able to do it. I don't know if it's because he can't fit in the position, or because he's struggling to settle down here, or there's got to be some reason behind it. But he's got 2 ex-Dortmund teammates there with him. You'd think that it'd be a home from home from him, but yeah, it's worrying.
Well, I think, he wasn't bad yesterday. He was very busy, I think, is probably the best way to describe him. And I think maybe it's just trying to find his best place in the formation, to date. But, he wasn't as bad as maybe you made it sound. What I'd love to know, Danny, is I know in the past, in previous seasons, you've gone and counted pre-assists on guys. I'd like to know what Mkhitaryan's are like. He definitely had the one on Ramsey's goal yesterday, but maybe he's the type of guy whose pre-assists look okay, or maybe they don't. Maybe that was his first one of the season.
Well, this season in the Premier League, he's played all 8 games. He scored 1 goal, got 3 assists, but they don't release the pre-assist stuff, so you have to go and look through them all. And the place where I download my films from, the last 2 my games from legally, not illegally, the last 2 games they didn't have, so I couldn't go and get all the stats from it. But if anyone from Opta is listening, give us access to your site right, please, because we are partly a very low end of the media, but we are in a kind of way because we are giving out information to people, and I'd love to have access to all them stats, and I could just talk stats for 2 hours every show. How good would that be?
It would be something else. It would be something else. Yeah, of course. I mean, anytime that you score 5 goals away from home and look comfortable in the way that we did, it was a fantastic game. I was really, really, really pleased. I didn't feel like we were ever going to lose that game, even before the game started. So, but for us to go out there and, we've had some pretty tight games. So, like I said, some games where we've really defended for large portions of the game and then sort of caught a couple goals on the counterattack. For us to really look that comfortable yesterday is very promising, especially where we're at in the season. Around the 10-game marker is when I sort of reserve judgment for in terms of how I think we may do this season. I know we'll probably talk about that a little bit later, but there's definitely some excellent signs to the fact that we've had some games where we have looked second best for large portions, only to grind out the result. The fact that our away form is definitely better than it was last season, to complement a home form last season that was second only to Man City. There's a lot of really good signs there. So I think without getting carried away, because the quality of opposition we've had the first 2 games aside hasn't been as strong as perhaps they will be. It was a very good game and a very promising game. Make no bones about it. Fulham are in the bottom 3, I believe. So, it wasn't a high class affair, but on the same note, they've invested, I think, over £100 million in the off season to try and stay up, and they tried to play against us. So, for that, full credit. I hope they do stay up. I've got a soft spot in my heart for Fulham and Craven Cottage. So we've hinted enough that let's get on to the goals here, and I'm going to break them up. So, OJ, I want you to cover Lacazette's 2 goals, if you wouldn't mind, and if you want to talk a little bit about Schürrle's goal, I'm fine with that. But let's talk about Lacazette's goals in particular. He's had a fine season to date. Your thoughts? Maybe walk us through them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so the first one, comes from a good bit of play on the left, and the player that we've all sort of been complimenting, and somebody who I also just don't rate a ton, was Alex Iwobi, and he was able to get that second assist that Danny was talking about, and some just really good link-up play again down the left with Iwobi and Nacho, and then with Lacazette, we said this on the radio show as well yesterday. It's just the fact that it's so crazy to know that you have a clinical striker, and everybody knows my love affair with Giroud, but Lacazette didn't even turn completely to goal, didn't really look up at the goal, just sort of half turned and was able to put his boot sort of around and through it, and just slotted home at the near post, which was not only was it just a good crisp finish, but I think the keeper, I don't know if he was thinking that Lacazette was going to go try to go far post or what, but just seemed like he was close enough to at least make an attempt for it. And I don't think he got anywhere near it. And it's really refreshing to be like, oh, Lacazette's got the ball. Get ready to celebrate, especially if he's in the box. And then the second one was, just a great little, again, just a low driven shot down on the ground from outside the box that, again, is just, we don't have a lot of players who I think would even attempt that. So to have him really sort of just, to have the guts to go through it, that just shows the level of confidence that he's playing with right now that you can see throughout the team. And he's just doing such a great job of finding any little opening that he can between him and a defender to get a shot off, and he's been testing the keeper a lot, which is great as well, because that's all you can do. But he's super clinical, especially once he's inside the box. And like I said, it's just refreshing to know that with him and Aubameyang in there, we have people who can finish consistently if we give them the opportunities. And luckily, we've been playing well enough to give them opportunities.
No, I think you're absolutely right. The thing that struck me about Lacazette, and I was having to think about the podcast today about who I think has been our best player so far this season, and I think Lacazette has to be in the conversation. Even when he wasn't starting early in the season, he looked like he always wanted to make something happen when he got onto the pitch. And that's sort of the difference, I think, between sort of him and maybe Aubameyang, who we have high expectations for, is that Lacazette, he always looks dangerous on the ball. And to see him get 2 goals yesterday was definitely something special. But unfortunately, maybe in any other game, that's those 2 goals are one of those 2 goals is probably the best goal of the game. But unfortunately, he came up against what's affectionately being called Emery ball. Dom, walk us through probably the goal of the season so far. Aaron Ramsey on the pitch only for a matter of maybe seconds or minutes. Let's talk about this goal.
Well, have you ever seen Pele do those erectile dysfunction ads? Are you familiar with that?
I can't say I have, but I'm picturing something right now.
Okay, so Pele doing these erectile dysfunction ads, and to be honest, whatever he's selling, just get rid of it. Because I've had this thing replaying about, it's had 60,000 views, the clip I've watched, and I'd be responsible for about 1,000 of them. And I went from 6 to 12 instantly watching that. So, whatever they're trying to sell you, just throw it out and just watch that goal on repeat like I have been, because it definitely made the beans fizz a little bit. And it's nice to see, Ramsey's had a little bit of, what would you call it, controversy or pressure, or, he's been spoken about quite a lot. People have even, gone as far as trying to analyse his goal celebration and what did that mean. And maybe it's just relief, maybe it's just pure relief that he gets to go out there and he's, doing what he loves and scored an amazing goal to help his team. And we can leave the contract stuff to the side for a minute and just appreciate what a well-worked goal that was, because he started and finished it, didn't he? At the back there where he was basically in the right-back position, the little flick over the top to Hector. Lacazette. Lacazette's little flick over to Bellerin, who backheels to Ramsey, who heads to Mkhitaryan, and then he gets that really, really nice touch. I think that was almost overlooked a little bit in terms of how important Mkhitaryan's ball was because of all the flicks and tricks before it. But it just set Aubameyang off down the left there, and Ramsey's run was very, very smart, because if he kept continuing his run, the ball would have been blocked. So he just held off that little bit, peeled off the defender to give himself some space, and what a finish.
No, you're absolutely right. What a finish it was. And interesting that it was our center midfielder and our striker in the right back position who were working the ball out. And I remember thinking when I watched that, there's a point about halfway through that play where I remember distinctly thinking, wouldn't this be nice to see a goal come of this? And it was right after Hector did sort of his flying sort of back heel back across the pitch. I sort of got that feeling we're watching something special here. And, I obviously didn't know we were going to score. But when it was sort of completed back to front, what an amazing goal. And you'd have to think a contender for goal of the season, reminiscent of some of the ones that we saw in past, Rosicky and Jack Wilshere in particular, where just a great team goal. And you talked a little bit about Ramsey's celebration, and I like to think that maybe he's just sort of shrugging his shoulders, saying, "I'm here to play football and not to worry about contracts or any of that nonsense at this point. I'm just here. I'm on the pitch. Hey, look what happened." Danny, what did you think of the goal, and what did you make of the celebration?
The goal, I was trying to think of what it reminded me of. It reminded me of one of those cartoons where you had a waiter walking through a restaurant and he's got a load of plates in one hand and a load of plates in the other, and then someone pulls their chair out backwards and he slides around that, and then he slips over and he's diving through the restaurant trying to keep all the plates in one go, and then he falls over, then a load of plates fall over, then he managed to lean over and catch all the plates again. It was like a comedy of errors working their way all the way through it. And I thought, at any moment, if you'd have looked at that and stopped to go, right, what happens after this ball? Well, they lose it. No, after this ball, what happens? Well, they lose it. And just think that all the way through. And then for Ramsey to score the way he did, and what did he? I think he touched the ball 4 times, including the assist on that. I think he got the pre-assist, the pre-assist, and started off the movement at the right back corner. But so that is definitely going to be man of the match. I mean, match of the day, goal of the month for October. It's so good. The amount of confidence and just that look on his face, just. I know it's fantastic. What a great week for him. I think his missus is about to have twins, and she's naming them both Jason. I don't know why she's calling them both Jason.
Slightly awkward. Okay, but we weren't done then. 3-1 up, and we were definitely in control. Aubameyang with the last 2 goals in the game. The first one coming in off a cross from Hector, who we spoke about, and he just kind of pulled it sort of out of the air and turned and hit it all in one motion. For a guy who was reportedly suffering from some illness, it was a heck of a finish, Shredder. You want to talk about Aubameyang's goals as well, maybe?
Yeah, it was really good to see somebody like Aubameyang come off the bench. He'd been ill, and for him to get a couple of goals. And, his first goal was, almost a carbon copy of the first Lacazette goal as well, because, at the edge of the 6-yard box, gets a difficult ball and has to turn, and he hits it on the volley, and even their keeper was able to get a couple of fingers to it. Didn't matter, still went into the back of the net, and it's really good to see that wing play. Getting all the way down the byline, cutting the ball back into these dangerous spots, and these are the things that can happen when you have clinical finishers like Aubameyang and Lacazette. And you transition to a second goal. It's completely different. It's him on the run, a through ball. He's got to outpace a defender to get to it. Just able to get a toe on it before, the keeper comes out as well, and slots it home. And again, just clinical finishers. And we're finishing, both of the finishers today had 2 completely different types of goals each. A ball come back from the byline into a crowded box, and they're able to still get it at their feet and make something happen. And then, one running with the ball at his feet and then just creating a little bit of space and slotting home. And then Aubameyang's second of running on to, what we bought Aubameyang for, literally running on to a ball into some space that he's able to tap home. So really, really good to see both Lacazette and Aubameyang play up top. They did play together in a 4-4-2 on Sunday, and both of them got a couple of goals. And again, just that, the team and especially the attackers, you can just see the confidence they have once they get the ball in those dangerous spots. And again, super, super refreshing. And I don't remember too much of the times before where we could, other than when RVP was here, when we remember having that that clinical finisher. But it's so refreshing to have 2 now, and it's so nice to have, whether one of them's out, one of them's sick, we know we've got somebody who can come in and still put the ball in the back of the net from basically any spot, especially inside the box like we're trying to be now.
I tell you what, I was a little worried about Aubameyang. It looked like, particularly after the Chelsea game where he missed a sitter, that his confidence was a little shook. But to see him back in the goals, to see him scoring clinically, is a very positive sign for the rest of the season. So between him and Lacazette, the partnership that they've struck up, they seem to be really genuinely good friends. I'm very optimistic about where that may lead to going forward. Right. Well, I think that's enough on the Fulham game. Let's look ahead. Some news from the club today, confirming what we had already heard, that Adidas will be the new kit supplier starting in July of 2019. Sounds like it's a 5-year deal, 30 to 60 million pounds plus possible 5 million pounds in bonuses. And, you'd have to think if they make the bruised banana kit, they're basically printing their own money, as I've seen a number of mock-ups. Danny, what are your thoughts? I mean, I think probably when you were initially supporting, it would have been Umbro, but then Adidas through the Graham years. What are your thoughts about going back to Adidas? Are you happy about that?
When I typed in, we were doing the show run-up, it's not 30 to 60 million, it's 30, now moving to 60, because that's quite a wide margin. That's my fault for not making it clear. So don't send Jeff any hate mail. Yeah, you're right. It was the end of the Umbro, but the kits really became a thing for me with the Adidas kits. And Steve made a really good point in the WhatsApp group today. He said that when the bruised banana kit came out, everyone hated it, and everyone did hate it, and I hated it because we went from the blue and yellow away, so the yellow front with the blue sleeves. We went from that, and then got this bruised banana thing. I remember thinking and going, "Oh, what is this? Is this some kind of bleeding thing that a 3-year-old has made?" And now it's turned out to be one of our most iconic kits. But then there's another one going around at the moment, and it's an all black Adidas kit with the bruised banana yellow sleeves. Have you all seen that?
Yeah, I posted that in our group.
Oh, it was you that did it, Dom. Who made it, Dom?
I don't know, but that's another a good sort of substitute for Pele's erectile dysfunction. You show me a few pictures of those bad boys, and I'm on.
Oh dear, yeah. So Chris is. I don't know how many kits they're going to be releasing next year. It'll probably be 8 or 9 every season. So Chris is going to have to come and live with one of us because he can't afford to have a house anymore. Well, actually, he could go and live in Malta. Bless him. But I'm excited for it. Like I always am. I'm never ever going to buy a kit because me and polyester, a fat bloke in polyester, is a fire risk even in this cold climate.
Too much friction.
And I don't even move much, so it's good. It's good. It's always good to get a good change. But the moment that deal is that shirt is announced, put a stopwatch on it before people are moaning and Adidas are giving us the same old rubbish. I want to go back to Nike because that's the way it's going to happen.
Well, it's already happened. It's already happened.
Well,
yeah, in our WhatsApp group, I think Carpenter was all over it already. I mean, he's the budget Vic Akers, given at large that it is
like I
neon.
said, OG. If Chris doesn't like it, that's a good thing for the rest of us because he's a guy. He's a guy that wears knee-high cowboy boots and
ripped jeans.
I've spent time around the guy. I've seen his fashion sense, and trust me when I say that if he's not happy, then that's good news.
Oh, we're taking the piss out of Chris. He's on holiday. He's on holiday in Malta, listeners. So if you're in Malta, be on the lookout for knee-high cowboy boots and short shorts. Because that is typical vacation wear for the pirate. Chris, we love you. No, I think just back to your question, Danny. I'm really excited about. I think out of the 3 sort of main kit designers, that Adidas has the highest quality of the 3, at least in my experience. You know, having Adidas kits, Arsenal, but then also more recently, some of the MLS kits have been really good quality kits. And having a ton of Nike and Puma definitely seems to be the lowest of the quality. Now, there has been some bangers from Puma, though. A couple of our home kits, last year's in particular with the collar, I thought was a very nice, very sharp number. But I'm really excited. I know in terms of fans around the world, they should be excited as well, because I think Adidas is probably one of those companies that's very accessible for folks, to go down to their local sports store and find something. And right now, if we go down, we're going to find probably Bayern Munich and Man United. So to have Arsenal back on the shelf and available for a lot more people is probably a good thing as well. So I'm very excited to see what they'll put forward. You have to think, though. I know, Danny, you were clarifying that it starts at 30 and moves to 60. So thank you. But you have to think there's probably
at the moment.
Oh, it's 30 at the moment, and it's going to 60.
That's it. Yeah. Sorry, my fat fingers.
Unbelievable. What type of podcast are you running here? Anyways, no, you'd have to think there's some variation in terms of whether we make Champions League or not, in terms of the final fee that we'll get. But no, I'm definitely excited to see what they're going to put together. This year's kits in particular have been a bit sad, really. Jace, your thoughts on the Adidas deal? What are you thinking? Are you excited about it? Are you excited to see what Adidas is going to put together for us?
Adidas are my favorite kit makers. I, unlike Chris, who doesn't enjoy simplicity and elegance in fashion design, I do. And that's what Adidas does. It's nothing over the top. It's nothing gaudy. It's nothing too insane. But other than maybe the bruised banana kit. But that was also the 90s, so a lot of cocaine was done back then, and we can't really hold anybody accountable. But no, I think it's great for the club. People are complaining about, how much we're getting from it, and they're saying that it's not enough already, and I'm like, we've doubled our current one, doubled it basically. So we got to take what we can get, and we're a team that's currently been in Europa League for 2 years. Yeah, we're a London team, and yeah, we're in the Premier League, but we may be losing out on Champions League for a couple of years has really hurt us in a lot of departments, and our brand is not as strong as it once was, and hopefully Emery can fix that. But I'm really pleased with it. I look forward to see to see what they come with. I'm a huge fan of the 3 stripes. When I used to work for a football team, and we had a partnership with Adidas, and I've worked with some of those folks pretty closely there, and they're really good people. And again, the 3 stripes, it's iconic in football, and you're putting an iconic brand and club like Arsenal with another iconic football brand in Adidas, and so I think it's a great match.
No, I agree. Dom, anything you want to add before we wrap this section up?
No, I mean, I'm a big Adidas fan too. I think I'm really excited. If I had my pick of kit manufacturers going forward, it's definitely them. So yeah, I'm pretty buzzed.
No, it's fantastic.
As long as they kind of stick with tradition, but also have a bit of creative flair at the same time. So the home kits should be traditional, but I don't mind playing around a little bit with away and third kits, and hopefully they get some creative license to do so, and they don't try and go too, I wouldn't say boring, but too standard, and I just don't think Puma kits have really been that exciting to go.
All kits are standard now, though. That's the thing is, all these kit manufacturers make almost zero money. I'm not gonna say zero money, but it's not a huge revenue share for them. They're not selling as many jerseys as people think that they're just raking in profits on these. That's why you're starting to see, especially like brands like Nike and Adidas, just go with these sort of base templates across teams, unless you're like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, who are sort of the two sort of big boys for Nike and Adidas. And a lot of the other people just get these sort of templates that you can work with, maybe a slightly different color scheme or something. The one thing, though, that you always have to do for Arsenal, you'll always have to have white sleeves on the home kit. And so it's what you do with sort of the red there. You're going to put it on the shoulders. It's going to stop at the chest like it does now. Like that's where you can get creative. But the thing with any kit deals now is you're going to have those template designs. You're going to have three teams that basically all look the same, because that's just the way that market's gone recently, just due to the fact that they realize that, if they do one-offs for everybody, that's more customized production. That means, one, higher production costs, and two, means higher cost of the jersey to the customer, which, they're already getting up there in price. And if they were to do it, I feel that they would feel that they couldn't sell as many. And that's why they're starting to do these base templates that they have, that Spurs and City have basically the exact same home jersey.
But have Adidas done that with anyone so far?
Oh, yeah. If you look at some of the, especially if you look at like the Manchester United kits, they've got some of the same exact kits, just in different color schemes across La Liga, across the MLS. 100% they've done it. It's very. Yeah, but
what I'm saying is, I'm hoping that Arsenal are a big enough club that that's not going to be a problem.
If Manchester United had a base kit and a training top like they had last season, I think you've got your answer right there.
No, I think it's an interesting point that you bring up around the template designs. I mean, anyone who watched the Paris Saint-Germain versus Lyon game yesterday, Lyon's got a fairly standard template, with the color blocking in the top half of the jersey. But, you'd have to think if the amount of money is correct, we'd be in that sort of upper tier of teams. You'd at least hope that we are, and especially if we make it back into the Champions League. So there might be some hope that we'll get one of our kits to be non-templated. It does seem to be with Adidas sort of the second tier teams. And but yeah, registering your point there, Jace, that is part of the marketplace these days. But there is still some creativity, and hopefully with the home kit in particular.
For sure.
The other part that they may do, again, to keep costs low, is where they'll lead one season with our kit, and Puma does this a lot, where our kit will be sort of the standard design or a unique design for Arsenal, and then the following season you'll see that flow through to their teamwear designs. So you never know. I mean, maybe Adidas will come up with a really nice kit design for us the first season, and then the next season you'll see it in some of the lesser leagues and on your Sunday afternoon pitches. So.
Exactly.
Just drawing a line under that. Before we move on to listeners' questions, I got a few questions for us as a group. I don't get to podcast that often with you guys. As you know, with the time difference, it affects all of us except for Danny, who seems to be on Western Canadian time. Woohoo! I think maybe just before we go to listeners' questions, we could talk a little bit about the season so far. We don't want to get too carried away. But I want you guys to think. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. What have you been surprised by the most? What have you been disappointed by? What's your season outlook, and who's been our best player? So we're going to start with Danny, and then we'll move on to Dom, Jace, and then I'll finish this off here. Danny,
so give me the questions again one by one.
Yeah. what have you been surprised by?
The adaptability of the team and the early substitutions. Not a Mourinho, good God, it's all falling apart after 16 minutes substitutions, but the actual, this isn't working, let's tinker, now it's working, brilliant.
Fantastic. Okay, now what have you been, and I don't want anybody to carpenter this, okay?
Okay.
Has there been anything that you did perfectly there? Has there been anything you've been a little bit disappointed with?
Ozil having no place for a number 10, and so Ramsey and Ozil. Just happens that Ozil has got a massive contract, and Ramsey needs a new contract, and they're the two players that don't fit in this system, and it just happens that those two players are the boo boys at the moment, and it just makes me sad because I want them both to do brilliantly.
Oh, very good. Now, beginning of the season, where did you think we'd finish for the season?
Top four.
Top four. And has anything changed? Are we still top four? Are we top three? Where do you think? What's your outlook right now after this many games?
Still top four.
Excellent. And finally, who's been the best player this season?
Sock Pap.
Oof. Don't let Jace hear you say that.
That's a Welsh Justice troll right there. That's all that is.
He told me last night, I spoke to him about an hour last night, and he said, I may have underestimated Sock Pap. I've been impressed by him, but don't tell anyone I told you that.
Do you have that in writing?
No,
I love it.
It's like Mission Impossible. My phone is destroyed after speaking to him, which is why I can only afford to speak to him once a month.
He might have underestimated him. I think we all did. I mean, I didn't think he was going to be very good for us either, by all reports coming from the Bundesliga, but he's been decent. All right, Dom. Thank you for that, Danny. All right, Dom. Anything you've been surprised by this season?
I'm going to say not really. I think so far it's going pretty much according to what I thought would happen with such a big transition from one manager to the next, and it's still a work in progress, but the signs are there, which is good.
Good. And anything you've been disappointed with this season?
I'm gonna piggyback off of Danny's answer there. I just think not being able to get the best out of Ramsey and or Ozil, where, regardless of what people think, the criticism they get is because they are so good. And we know that they've got more to offer. And for whatever reason, whether it's manager system, whether it's them, contracts, I don't really care. Just as a fan, I'm disappointed that I'm not seeing them play their best.
Okay. And preseason, were you were sort of on the top four train? Are you sort of thinking the same thing? Is that what you were?
To be honest, I wasn't. To be honest, I thought fifth or sixth. And now I'm thinking we're going to be a team that is going to be reliant on United and Spurs to go to shit for the top four, I feel. I think that whilst we've won 9 on the spin, and it's all very positive in terms of our win-losses, but the performances still need to improve over the season to be able to get a top 4 spot.
Okay. And best player so far for you this season?
Lacazette for me.
Oof, good shout. Good. Thank you very much, Dom. Over to you, OJ. Thing you've been most surprised by?
I'm going to have to go ahead and say Bernd Leno. His come in and rarely put a fingertip or a foot or a pass wrong here. Reports were coming out pretty early on that we went and bought all this, or paid all this money for a goalkeeper, and he's just sitting on our bench. And then the reports came out that maybe he's not as good a shot stopper, and he's just not really impressing at training, and that seems to be rubbish to me now because. Maybe we've seen the last of Petr Cech as our number one, because I definitely think Emery's got to make a decision when Cech comes back, because Leno's been outstanding, and he let a goal in against Fulham, but again that was a really tough sort of position that our Nacho and the rest of the team put him under, so you can't really blame him for that. He's got a couple of times when he hasn't looked as strong in the box as everybody wants. Here's the problem: no modern keeper, that trains outside of sort of English football is going to be strong in the box, because that's just not what they train to. They don't train to sort of set up and take crosses all day. They train to play beautiful football. No offense to the English setup system and the way it's set up and everything. But you've got to look at the way that they're training, and he's done well for what he's had. But he's easily been my biggest surprise of the season. And sorry, I carpentered that. I'll do better on the rest.
You did. I forgot where I was momentarily. It's good. It's the alcohol talking. It's the hams.
Yes, exactly.
What about disappointments? Have you had any so far?
I think just to piggyback on what the other guy said, it is the Ozil and Ramsey situation, and trying to have to shoehorn two of your better players into a team and play them out of position or play them in roles that they aren't accustomed to or having to learn is tough. So I think that's the biggest thing. But the great thing is even with that being an issue, we've still got 9 wins on the trot. So you can't really be too disappointed. You're just starting to really nitpick if that's really what your big issue is.
Good. And remind the listeners again, where were you at preseason in terms of where you thought Arsenal could realistically finish, and has that changed?
No, it hadn't. I believe I said top 4, just because I knew that with the talent we have, and sort of you get that little lift of the new manager coming in. Like, I thought top 4 was a realistic possibility. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Alexander Lacazette, we have Mesut Ozil, we have Aaron Ramsey, we have Granit Xhaka, we've got Lucas Torreira, we've got Hector Bellerin. We've got great players throughout this squad who have got a boatload of talent, and we just haven't been able to utilize that talent to where everybody's firing on all cylinders at the same time for a consistent period of time. That's been our issue under the old management, and now we are. So I still think 4th is probably where we're going to be. Too early for a title run, but I think we'll get back into Champions League for sure. And
finally, who's been the standout player for you this season?
Hands down, Alexander Lacazette. Work rate, yeah. I think it's one of the few unanimous things Arsenal fans can say this season, or any season for that matter, is that his work rate, the way he goes and gets the ball and gets involved and then gets back into good attacking positions is second to none. And he understands the Premier League now and the physicality of it. And I think he's beefed up a little bit. He's harder to knock off the ball, and he fights a little bit more with center backs. And he's been so great to watch. Just he's playing with such tenacity for a striker, and he really does have that killer instinct that Righty and Henry and all the old greats that we all talk about. He's got that same fighting instinct. That's super fun to watch.
Jeff, answer your own questions.
I think I will, actually. Thank you, Danny. So the thing that I've been most surprised about is the fact that we've been able to grind out wins while we're still learning under Unai Emery. And it's been pretty obvious that we haven't been the most comfortable in some of the games that we've played. But by getting those 3 points in the games that we're supposed to be getting those 3 points in, it gives us that cushion to be comfortable. And the fans are all happy and are on side. It will buy buy-in from the players into the manager's system. So I've been surprised that we've ground out some of the games that maybe in the last 4, 5, 6 seasons we may have lost, especially away from home. And it's been a good surprise because, like I said, if we have a little slip, it's not the end of the world. We're not talking about getting rid of the manager. So very, very good so far on that side. And of course, a little shout out to Guendouzi, who's been a pleasant surprise as well. In terms of disappointment, the one thing Dom and Jay and yourself, Danny, will know about me is that I do keep some stats. I don't post them anymore, but something that I was really interested in over the past few seasons was around total shot ratio. And, that's really around how many shots in comparison to your opponent are you getting on target. And it creates a ratio. And I think Arsenal, their total shot ratio just hasn't been there. And in fact, if you were to extend that up until a few games ago, we were just conceding a few too many goals. And I know, Dom, you and I have had this conversation so many times that defense really is where a championship is won or lost. And I think we got off to a bad start in terms of conceding a lot of goals. So I've been a little disappointed with that. I'd like us to be a little bit stronger defensively. But of course, over the last few games, we've looked better. So long may that continue. My outlook, I never wrote this down, but I remember saying to somebody at work that I thought we were going to win the title. And I think that's a ridiculous statement. So no bones about it. I was not drinking at work, I promise. But I was just sort of following the logic that last year we were second best at home, and we're dreadful away from home, and so that lack of consistency really hurt us. You know that there's a good team there. Sure, I think we've bought smart in terms of Leno and Torreira in particular, and Socrates has looked a player. But I just think that, a new manager, if he was able to get the potential out of that team last year, that we would instantly do better than where we were. So I think, when I blogged at the beginning of the season, top four was realistic. I still think top four is realistic. I got a sneaky hope we might finish third. And so I think I'm just going to leave it there and sort of temper my expectations. And finally, to agree with the panel, I think Lacazette has been a bright star. There's been a lot of interesting performances. I thought Guendouzi early on looked really good. But Lacazette, what he's offered us and how he's played himself into a starting position, because people forget he was on the bench or coming in and playing wide a little bit in the games that he was playing. For him to play into a starting position and really he's got to be one of the first names on the sheet now in terms of what he's bringing to the squad. He's been fantastic. So for me, Alexander Lacazette. And I think we draw a line under that section. And I think we're going to move on to listeners' questions. Danny, are you going to do listeners' questions?
I will give it a go. Can't promise anything.
Fantastic.
Yes. Before I did that, there's a couple of stats from our league that, because if you're reading them, we've got 9 wins in a row, as you know. These are all stats that I've made up myself, so they could be wrong. So far this season in the league, 18 different players have started a Premier League game. That's amazing. And 11 different players have come on as a substitute in Premier League games. That too is amazing. The last time we had 9 wins in a row, 14-15. 10 wins in a row, 13-14. We won on a penalty shootout. 11 wins in a row, 03-04. I think we all remember what season that was. And 12 wins in a row. It's the furthest one I could find was 07-08. And then our best unbeaten run was 28 in a row from April 07 to November 07. But then the Invincibles did do a 27. They did a 27 unbeaten, lost to Chelsea in the Champions League, and then did another 21 unbeaten. So he's right in amongst some of Wenger's best stats at the moment. And I think with the upcoming games, we can easily make that 12 in a row. Oh, imagine that, people. Anyway, I'll stop going on. Listeners' questions. This is from Schwinn in a private jet, somewhere exotic. This is for you, OG. What did you make of Ramsey's celebration? Indicative of something in particular, or am I reading a bit too much into this?
I think I said this earlier on. I think there might be something to it, but I think, he's just come onto the pitch. He didn't start. And I think he just sort of shrugs his shoulders and holds his hands out to say, what more do you want from me? I think that's all there was to it. I don't think there was anything political in it. And, speaking on the Ramsey situation just briefly, I don't really want to go down that road too much. I think a lot of it's agent in the club. I think he just wants to get on with it and play. I mean, obviously has a say in what he's going to do in the future, but I think it was just more of a, hey, what more do you want? I mean, it was just that simple. He probably put all of his energy into actually scoring the goal, and just that's kind of what happened. So maybe reading a bit into it, Schwinn, but yeah, I didn't read anything political or anything around the contract into it at all.
Okie dokie. Right, one for you, Shredder. From a Mr. Goonaholic from the bosom of ABW. With the travelling Gooners so audible on Sunday, what was your favourite player chant at the cottage? Which was going to be he had put that as the listener's question, but then I hadn't seen it and I did another one, so I thought I'd add it in here.
Good. No, it's good. It was good. No, the away fans were so loud. There was the chance for Torreira, which I think they did to the Patty Vieira song. There was the Iwobi chants that they do to the Sandy Cazorla song. A lot of people have issues with the way people just reappropriate names of players into songs, but there was a time late in the match when all you could hear is, and it's Arsenal FC, by far the greatest team on, just echoing throughout the stadium, and the announcers were quiet, and that's all you could hear coming through the speakers, and it gave me some chills to be able to hear that, and knowing it was so loud, but not actually being at our home ground. And so that one was the one that really stood out, because it was so emphatic at the time, and you could tell that, with the way the fan base has been divided in the past, for everyone to be in full voice like that was pretty special.
I want to just say something on this one, Danny, as well.
Yeah, because, I was going to ask you and Dom anyway.
Oh, well, there you go.
Go on then.
No, I gotta agree with OJ that is something. We're Dom's in Vancouver, I'm in Victoria, both in Canada. Get listeners, we're not in the United States of America, but Shredder is. You're watching. We have our game rituals, usually 7 in the mornings, a 3 p.m. kickoff, and especially the away games. We really hear the away fans. So if you're listening to this and you're an away fan, thank you, because it's awesome to hear that. To Shredder's comment, you feel it up the back of your neck. I know yesterday, slightly different moment. I was trying to remember which goal it was. I think it was Aubameyang's first. Very clearly, we could hear Bergkamp Wonderland. Going from that end of the ground,
yep.
Putney end there, and I kind of I had to go back and rewatch it. I couldn't hear it in the replays on YouTube, but I was hoping it was Ramsey's goal. But I think, like I said, it was Aubameyang's goal. So that was definitely my favorite moment, because it was very clear, very distinct. There's only one Dennis Bergkamp, and then we scored. So again, if you're in that traveling contingency and you're singing your socks off, we appreciate you worldwide. It's one of those things that even when my son comes down, he listens, he picks up the chants. It's really amazing how it connects Schooners near and far. So thank you.
Dom?
Yeah, no, definitely, OG. I think, without picking out an individual one, the thing I think is nice is that generally when you have a song sung about you, it's because you've endeared yourself to the fans, and having Iwobi and Torreira both have, getting songs sung to them. It probably just an indication that, we're getting some players come through now that are starting to really endear themselves to the fans based on their performances. So, I don't really mind what the songs are. I'm with OG, because our away fans are unbelievably good. You can always hear the away fans no matter what, and it's just nice. You're just sitting there. You're about as much a part of it as you can be. I've been lucky enough to get over there last year and watch a couple of games, and so you know that there is a little bit of a disconnect, but when you can hear that so clearly, and it just does make you feel a little bit more a part of what's going on. So I think, without picking out one individual song, I think just the fact that some of the newer players are getting some songs is really positive.
My answer would be, we've got our Arsenal back, just because of the thought of Jason Davies hearing that and screaming at his telly, "You bastards!" Because he was probably getting very angry. Notice I didn't do it in a Welsh accent. Right, next question is for you, Dom, from Noir Confidential, and these other bits I've added in from a secret cinema somewhere. Should we keep hold of Welbeck, considering that homegrown players are expensive and the gettable ones wouldn't have an immediate impact or be a vital part of the first team anyway? Because I think his contract is up at the end of the season.
I think I would. I think he just offers us that little bit of something different up front. Like, he's a guy that's really good in the air, and between Aubameyang and Lacazette, they're not known for being aerial threats, and he has knocked in a couple of goals as well. And I feel, well, like you mentioned, the English premium, trying to find a replacement in the first place. I doubt he's on crazy high wages. He didn't really cost us that much in the first place. I feel like he's definitely a player, especially if we manage to keep in some of these competitions, FA Cup, Qarabag Cup, Europa League, these types of things. I don't think Aubameyang and Lacazette will be enough just by themselves in terms of rotation and rest and keeping everybody at their best. So is there a glaringly obvious solution out there that we're missing, or I don't know. I don't really see an argument to get rid of him. I think that he's done okay. He's not done what Lacazette did at the start of the season, but I can't really see a big argument to get rid of him, unless it is, well, if we get rid of Welbeck, we bring in a really fast, amazing, world-class, tricky winger, and we needed the funds to be able to do that, then I'd be all for it. But I don't really think that's the case.
I agree with you there. Right, this question I'm going to give to all of you, but start with OG. From Peter Kennelly from Adelaide in Australia. He says,
what a spot.
he says he misses you. If you had to throw a cabbage at any Arsenal figure, past or present, who would it be and why? And for people who don't know, this is because an Aston Villa fan threw one at the manager Steve Bruce, and then the Villa cabbage went and got his own Twitter account and accused Steve Bruce of attacking him.
If I had to throw a cabbage, Peter, you're a sick man. No, it's got to be Robin van Persie. I would throw a cabbage at him. Maybe Gervinho too. I wouldn't mind seeing how that would bounce off of his head. Gervinho, we talked about him earlier in this podcast. I think OJ brought him up. He scored a worldie for Parma the other week. I don't know if anybody saw it.
Great, yes. They won 3-0 yesterday or 3-1 yesterday as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll go with the Dutch stunt.
Guy.
Yeah.
Shredder, who would you pick?
Oh,
You can pick Chris if you want.
No, he already gets enough cabbage thrown at him. And that's just from the Pirates players. Man, William Gallas.
Oh, I was going to say
good shout.
But what if it made him cry?
Yeah. well, they didn't have something to eat. Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's to do what he did as the captain is unforgivable. And like players leaving because of money or this or that, like that's going to happen in football. So I get people could say Cesc or people get RVP or, Danny, you'll probably say Henri because he left. But yeah, for your club captain to sit down on the pitch and have a tantrum, come on, man. You deserve to get hit with lots of cabbage.
Didn't he recently say that he regrets his time at Arsenal too? That's
feelings mutual, buddy.
Dom, have you got one?
Since Shred stole mine, what about Nicholas Bentner? I just wouldn't want to be dressed up as I wouldn't want to be dressed up as a taxi cab when I did it though, because
he'd put a hole in it and have a whole lot of fun with that cab.
He'd go full vegetarian. My answer would be all of the board members who sold the club out and got rid of David Dean. If they wouldn't have sold all their shares to Usmanov and Kroenke, or Kronk, or then we wouldn't be in this.
Bring Usmanov in.
Yeah, because he was told to go out and find money, I think, and he brought in two different people, and then he ended up getting shafted, and that was at the point where the club started to go downhill. No point bringing him back. That's ancient history, but yeah, all of them lot, they all deserve, especially the ones that are on Twitter now complaining about it. Yeah, it's your fault. You shouldn't have sold your shares. Right, so I forgot who I asked that question to. Dom, that's to everybody. This one back to OG. Miko from Helsinki in Finland. It's set my Alexa off, but luckily I've muted it. Do you think we should continue with the 4-4-2-ish formation? Sunday was our best performance this season, and it looked equally effective with either Welbeck or Aubameyang up top with Lacazette, with each one of the three offering something different going forward. I like that question.
Oh, that's a good one. First of all, hello, Miko. Yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I like it when we play two up front, Aubameyang and Lacazette. I like it when we play a winger. So, I think really that is a 4-4-2 likely. However, the manager's been sort of showing that he's not afraid to change the formation depending on the team that we're facing or the opponent, whether we're home or away. So while I like that formation, I thought we looked fantastic yesterday. It's something that if the game doesn't call for it, then I trust the manager to pick something else. So for me, yeah, great team performance with a 4-4-2. But if we have to change it, we have to change it.
Okie dokie. Right, 4 more questions to go. Ready for your one is for you, Shredder. From Tren Ree, who is an ABW Live regular, which is the chat box is open to everybody on the 10 minutes after every single game. And Shredder hosted the one this weekend. It was very good. And you can get in there and people read out your questions. And occasionally we give stuff away and then Davis doesn't post it. So might as well just not bother turning up. He says, during this great run of wins, who or what has surprised you the most?
So during this group of wins, and earlier I said Bernd Leno's been my big surprise of the season. So there's that. Obviously, I think probably my second one is going to be Alexander Iwobi. I mean, come on, like the kid is myself, Lord Hill Wood, we're not big fans of him last year. We both had to eat our words because he's rejuvenated and he's got structure to his game now. He seems like he has focused tasks on the pitch to do that he knows how to execute when he gets the ball. And it's you can see the coaching he's been given, and he's following that coaching, and he's just been so fun to watch again. And he's doing all these little tricks and backheel nutmeg in the Qarabag game, and I think he had another meg at the byline this weekend as well, and carry the ball through. And so he's a kid who had loads of talent, and we just again we weren't seeing the fulfillment of that talent. But now with Carcedo there and Emery giving clear instructions to the players, Iwobi has been a real breath of fresh air and deserves a spot starting on that left side.
Okie dokie. Right. Next one for you, Dom, and then OG, then Shredder. So this for you, Dom, Stebby79 from Iceland. There's no way I was going to try and pronounce his actual name because he'd made up letters. He says, who has had a bigger impact on our recent success, Torreira or Emery?
Emery, surely. I mean, Torreira didn't really play too much at the start of the season and has worked his way in. Whether it was that he was little niggly calf injury, I'm not sure, but he's really only kind of cemented a starting on the last couple of games. And whilst I think that he is very important to our system and structure, I love what he brings and I love what he does. And I've been crying out for the quote unquote defensive midfielder for quite a long time. And I feel like he is a guy that enjoys getting back and intercepting and tackling and defending, and I think that he's going to be a very important part of what we do. But ultimately it comes down to the manager and how he implements the systems and instructions for the rest of the team, and I think definitely Emery.
Okay, right. One for you, OG, from Josh Robinson. I think he's in the UK. With Unai and Leno. With Unai using Leno and Holding a lot more these last few matches, what is your preferred back five? I think that maybe mean if everybody was completely fit.
Let's interpret it like that.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. I might say something controversial, actually. So Bellerin and Monreal on the fullbacks.
Yeah.
But center back, I'm going to go with Socrates and Holding.
Is this assuming Koscielny's fit too?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's a good question. No, I'm going to change it then. I'm going to go with Koscielny and Socrates.
Ka-ching, you win.
I think they can. I think they can play together.
Especially since Koscielny's our only left-footed defender.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's the one. But that's a good shout, actually, Dom. I wasn't thinking about Koscielny. And he's, our captain. It would be good to see him out there. Of course he is,
because he's not playing.
All of our captains conversations. Oh, yeah. No, Mustafi's looked a bit better last couple games, but I just don't think, he just gets these brain farts, and they tend to be really bad or sort of goal concedingly bad. And then at the back, it's such a tough question for me because I think Czech really didn't play all that badly, but Leno's been fantastic. I think I've got to give the nod to Leno. So that would be my back five. So what did I say? Beller and Monreal in the fullbacks, Leno and keeper, and then Socrates and Koscielny in the center back position.
So then after 5 minutes of that game, them starting, and Koscielny pops his ankle again, you're going to bring in Holding?
Yes.
Good. Right. Final question. I've saved this one for you, Shredder. From Alfredo in New Orleans, USA, a place I know you've been.
Yes.
Yes.
Only during a really bad time after Hurricane Katrina, I went to help clean up when I was in the military. So I've got to get back there when I can see like a good, rejuvenated, revitalized city, and hopefully I can maybe make it down to Coup de Grace in February.
So you've never been to Mardi Gras? Oh, it's a
no. I have not.
We'll save,
Obviously, Jeff
those
has.
Stories. We'll save those stories for an after dark. What a gong show!
Oh, there you go. Teasing the listeners. Alfredo says, outside of the issues in central defence, what do you think is an area Emery could look to improve between now and January?
Between now and junior, what do we need to look to improve? Ooh.
Should we shoot more? I think is what he's saying.
Should we stop more shots? Maybe. Man, outside of.
Hasn't there got to be something like playing out of defence properly, getting that solved?
No, because that's a thing that's going to have to just come with more experience from Czech, and Leno's already in there and doing well with it. I would say we've got to continue to improve our wing play and continue to play with wingers is the one thing Emery's really got to focus on, because that's where we've become the most dangerous. Because like I said, teams then can't get too compact against us, and they can't sit in the middle and cut off our passing lanes. They've got to be expanded a little bit if we're going to play down those wings, and having players in there like Iwobi and Mkhitaryan and Emil Death Row Records in there. It's a really, really important that we continue to develop that and grow on the good form that we've already had, but continue to make it better, make it an emphasis.
Boom. What a question. Right, OG, if you could nudge Dom and tell him to do Fifes for him, then we can move on.
Right, Dom, can you do Fifes for him?
No.
Okay.
Pass.
Get on with it, you fanny.
No one told me about Fifes for him.
Someone else can take that. I'll take Fifes for him.
Go on then.
Hey everybody, welcome to Fifes Forum. This is your friendly Colonial Cannon sitting in for Mr. Fife today because he's stuck waiting for a 2 because Carl doesn't want him to go to work.
He's on the overland.
Exactly. So here's the question that we propose to all you wonderful listeners here is, what do you think the Ramsey goal celebration meant? Alfredo, our good friend who just asked that great question, put in here, how you like me now? Noir Confidential said, do I deserve a pay raise or do I deserve a pay raise? Our good friend Gav over at She War put, if someone famous dies, don't blame me. A nice little shout out to the old school Ramsey goals there. Who else do we have? We have Welshie who put, where's the bug-eyed twat on 300K flicking in a worldly goals like that? I totally butchered that. Let me try that again here, Welshie. Where's the bug-eyed twat on 300K plus a week flicking in worldly goals like that? So that's your 5-4. I think there are a couple more in here, Danny. I think there are a couple more. I'm going to check Twitter here. You guys talks amongst yourself.
Oh, Lord Hillwood did one.
Yeah,
you got that one?
I've just lost all of them. They were there and then they were gone.
Yeah, I'll quickly. Someone can hum,
Steve.
and I'll put these back in the Skype chat box as if by magic.
Here we go. Oh, there we go. I just needed to scroll down. It's called technology.
You didn't scroll down.
Lord Hillwood, our good friend Stephen Poland, says Ramsey's goal celebration meant, why are you such a prick? And then Mike Harneman said, if that's what I can do after 40 seconds, try giving me a contract and I'll show you what I can do in 40 games. Which I know our good friend in Wales will like that as well. So now that I've scrolled all the way to the bottom, I think that's it. Fifes Forum is closed, but thank you, listeners, for those wonderful answers to that question. Hopefully, Danny will give you guys more time than 15 minutes before the pod next time we record here. Because if it wasn't for our good friend Mr. Gunnar Hollick, we may not have had this tonight. But thank you all, and I turn this back over into the all-knowing hands of the OG to continue to lead us on here.
Okay. Those some good answers there. Gav, that was a beaut. I
tried to stifle a laugh at one point and just went,
oh, it's a good one. So it all worked out in the end. Fifes Forum, people. Look for that in future shows. So I think we're kind of getting close to wrapping up. Just looking ahead, we've got some games on the horizon. I think after the international break, Leicester at home. Is that right? On the 22nd? Does that sound right? Sounds right to me.
Yep.
Before traveling to Portugal to play Sporting on the 25th, and then Palace away on the 28th. And then finally on Halloween, we're playing Blackpool. Blackpool wear orange too. That's a bit weird. So Halloween, we're at home to Blackpool in the Carabao Cup.
Hopefully we'll be playing Smashing Pumpkins that night.
Oh, easy. Yeah, it is. Sorry, listeners. It is almost time to be done here. Looking ahead at those 4 games, 2 Premier League, 2 Cup. let's just go around, just get some expectations on those games before we close the show out. Starting with you, Danny, because you're on Fuego. Thoughts on the two Premier League games, so home and away, Leicester, Crystal Palace, and then Sporting and Blackpool in the respective cups.
Renault made a car called a Fuego. There you go. Leicester, they lost to Everton at the weekend, and they beat Newcastle before that, and then they beat Leicester and beat Huddersfield before that, but then they lost 4-2 to Bournemouth before that. So 1-2, lost 2. I think it all depends on people like Vardy and whether Schmeichel gets back to the form that he was last season, because their best player's already gone. Iheanacho hasn't really done much all season. No one really is doing anything for midfield. The only player that I like from that team is young Maddison. James Maddison, 3 goals, 8 games, recent England call up. Keep an eye on him, but I think we should easily beat them and beat all the others, because Sporting Lisbon have no players. So if you are in Lisbon that weekend, maybe pop along. They'll give you a game, and then you can leave on a free.
Oh, very good. Dom, thoughts on those 4 fixtures upcoming?
I think the 2 Premier League games could be a little bit more difficult than people think. Premier League games are always hard as it is, especially away from home. The Crystal Palace game, they've got some dangerous players there, and as much as we've been improving a little bit, we still have been giving teams a little bit of an opportunity to score against us. So hopefully we can just continue just going under the radar, getting the job done and getting through. But I hope that we can at least win those 2 Premier League games and continue that run in the Premier League, because we've got a bit of a tricky period coming up once we hit Liverpool, so it would be good to keep it going.
Yeah, very good. Shredder, how about you? What are your thoughts on those 4 fixtures?
I think there will be 4 wins, but it's Premier League's not easy, and we're not going to change too much in the cups, because I think that, like, I forgot who it was on the pod last week, said that we're just trying to bed these players in, and so don't expect too much changes in the cups. But I think we'll get 4 wins from them. Personally, maybe a draw from one of those Premier League games at the worst. But I'm confident that we have the the form and the confidence right now that even if another team's playing well, we can play better than them. We can make adjustments in game. That Emery's done some great adjustments at halftime. That we can still get points, even if maybe we're not playing as beautifully as we played this last Sunday.
Go on, OG. Your thoughts?
I think so. Yeah, I'm like you guys. I think those are winnable games. But on top of that, I'd maybe like to see a little bit of rotation, particularly against Sporting and Blackpool in particular. And we should see a little bit of rotation in those games, only because, as Dom mentioned, we've got a tricky period coming up. Liverpool fairly soon after those games, as well as our historic fun month of November. So it'd be nice just to see a little bit of rotation there, because we're going to need our whole squad going forward. So winnable games for sure. So drawing a line under that and moving on to gentlemen's nods. We're going to go to Dom first. Do you have a special gentleman's nod this week?
I've got a special gentleman's nod. Yes, I do. I just thought of it right now. John Welsh, who had his first beer for about 3 or 4 years the other day. And anyone that was privileged enough to be in our WhatsApp group and hear that was some of the best voice clips of all time. I think he's overtaken me in terms of funny drunk moments and leaving voice notes. So that's my gentleman's nod to John Welsh. And hopefully he didn't feel too bad the next day, but he was just really impressed that it was so cheap to get a buzz going, since he hadn't drunk for 4 years. So it took him a little bit to get over that.
He had half a Hams and a shot of tequila, if I'm not mistaken. But that was pretty legendary voice messaging. Next time I want a video, I'll Collins' Instagram. So that's very good. Very good. Thank you, Dom. Danny, how about you? Gentleman's nod.
It's going to go to Anna Bridget Sweetman, the 1st of February 1944. This time, 48 years ago, she was in hospital with what she thought was poo pains. It wasn't poo pains. She was in labour, and she shit me out a year ago tomorrow. So there you go. Happy 48th birthday to me. I mean, 38-ish. Yeah. So well done, Moog. Well done, Moogie.
Whoa, hey, hold on. That was going to be my shout out. Was a birthday shout out. For those of you listening and can't follow exactly what we're saying, because this podcast is going to be out when? Thursday, Danny?
Yeah.
Thursday. And we're recording Monday. I think we've trickled over into Tuesday morning if you're in the UK. But it's all sort of Monday afternoon here in Vancouver and Victoria, and Monday night in North Carolina. We're trying to go back and forth in time. So if you are listening to this, you will need a hot tub time machine to go back and celebrate with Danny. His birthday is on Wednesday, so the day before this comes out. So happy birthday, Danny, and thanks for everything that you do for this podcast. I'm going to just take it from there and give my gentleman's nod before I go to Shredder. I'm going to give it to Danny because without you, I don't think any of us would know each other. So well played, sir.
You blaming fantastic. Me for the fact that everybody knows Chris.
Yeah. Well, it's not bad odds when you like most of them, right? So it's very good. So happy birthday to you, sir, and just a quick happy birthday shout out to Akib. Happy birthday, sir. I believe it's your birthday sometime around now. Shredder, gentleman's nod.
I am going to give my gentleman's nod this week to the Triangle Gooners, my local supporters club. That's we've got our own little plaque over at the Emirates to celebrate us. We've also got a banner that's there from time to time. You can follow them at Triangle Gooners on Twitter there, and I'm trying to find the dates, but we are actually hosting. If you're in the North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina sort of area, we are going to be hosting the Carolina Gooner Fest. And I'm just trying to get the dates, and I'm having trouble because Facebook's a piece of shit. But trying to find the dates here. If you go to the Triangle Gooners, follow them on Facebook. You can also check them out on like I said, on the Twitter. We're doing some really cool things this year. We've already given away a signed Thierry Henry jersey. We're also
Friday, December the 8th and Friday, December the 7th, Saturday the 8th of December. Is that it?
Bingo. That's it. That is it. So a couple of days, and we'll be watching football at Bull McCabe's, our local pub, as well. So we're doing some great stuff again this year. They've already given away that Thierry Henry jersey. We are also doing a monthly button club. So we will have a Arsenal themed button that you, if you show up to a match at the local pub, you get a button. If you collect all of them at the end of the year, you're entered to win a drawing for a 2018, 2019. Wait, that's this season. 2019, 2020. Jeez, man. 2019, 2020. I was like, oh, what is that? This is like 2008, right? But you'll be entered to win like a next year's home kit. So we're doing a bunch of stuff. We've got a good group of about 30 or 40 regulars that are there for almost every match. And we've had upwards of 150 people for different matches as well in the past. And it's a good time. We sing and chant. It's still a family environment. Bring your kids. They may hear some C-bombs. I can't, especially if I'm there.
Bring your kids. They may hear a C-bomb.
Yeah. But hey, they've been warned, Jeff. They've been warned. But no, it's a good time. So the Triangle Gooners, again, Carolina Gooner Fest happening here. So check them out on Twitter and on Facebook. And they're a good group of guys. Danny and Chris, who run it, have been absolutely outstanding. So that they keep filling my Danny. They keep filling my Arsenal love up every week. So big shout outs to them.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. And
somebody's got to fill his shoes while he's on vacation.
No, that's good. It was a good shout out, actually. So I think looking ahead at the interlude, there might be an upcoming pod on ABW Gaming. Danny, do you want to talk just a bit about what that is?
Yeah, most of us play games, including you and Shredder and me and Chris and John and Ellis and Josh, and most of us do. So we thought, well, with Forza Horizon 4's just come out, FIFA's coming out, Red Dead Redemption 2's coming out, and as we might as well talk about it because it's one more aspect of what we are at ABW. We like a lot of gaming, and the other aspect that we are is setting up our own version of Chatterbait for just John and the ladies, but best we leave that alone for now because of legal reasons. Yeah, but yeah, we're going to get Stefan on and me and probably Ellis and a couple of others, and maybe Wolverson the Hedgehog Travis, he might join us for for one, and Chris Lodato, I think he's the Gooner in purple or something like that, and Big Daddy Kane from the is that it? Big Daddy Kane? I think that's his name, from the ABW Live chat box. He's another one that's in the group, and you're just going to talk about gaming and then see where it goes.
Right. Well, so that, listeners, you have to look forward to right in the middle of the interlull. So hopefully that'll be out over the weekend or something after that. So I think that's it. All I have to do is thank everyone for joining me today, starting with you, Mr. Danny. Thank you, sir.
Cheers, Jeff. Your lovely warm hands and that aroma of taco meat and Old Spice has made me quite dozy now, as it's nearly just gone 1 a.m.
Ooh. All right. Well, you stay on after we stop recording, and I'll tell you a story before you go to sleep. All right.
I'm going to get myself a cup of hot chocolate with that special mug you brought me over all the way from Canada.
Fantastic. Very nice. Thank you, Dom, in Vancouver.
Thank you very much, OG. We must organise a catch-up soon.
Actually, speaking of that, I think I'm in Vancouver Thursday. So if you're around, we should chat offline.
Sure.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Shredder in North Carolina, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thank all the listeners as well. And I mean, you guys are the reason we do it. And if not, it would just be us listening to Danny piss and moan in WhatsApp all day.
And hopefully we'll make this a regular thing. Maybe every month, 6 weeks, I'll have these three on, and maybe me. Someone will replace me every now and then because, should get.
Oh, you're irreplaceable, Danny. You're irreplaceable.
Yeah.
I'll teach someone else.
American hours.
I'll just teach someone else how to bang the big red knob to start and stop the show.
Oh, hang on.
No,
get a chip.
No, nobody's. You're throwing them right down the middle, but there's no John Walsh here to swing.
John.
All right, guys. Listeners, thank you very much. This has been a Bergkamp Wonderland. Good night.
Bye-bye, cheeky monkeys.
Hello, dear listener. This is part 2. Now, them three have all buggered off. It's 1:14 a.m. for me. I've got to edit not yesterday. What is it? Today's Tuesday. 2 days ago, the radio show, because I forgot to put it up. I forgot until Matt messaged, DM'd the pod account, and I went, can you put it on iTunes? I went, oh, bugger, I've been so busy playing Forza Horizon 4, I forgot to do it. So I'm going to quickly do this, go through the bits I didn't do last week, and update that, and then I shall go off and have the radio show, not radio show, is it? No, rebranded, as Jason says, the ABW Live, that's going to be on for about 2 a.m, so I need to hurry up and get this done. Right, injury update, Mesut Ozil, back spasm, expected return 22nd of October. It says here at physioroom.com, yesterday he came in with pain and could not train or play today. I've had to minimise the screen so that I can get the entire lot in. In fact, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it bigger. Oh, there we go. I can read now. Petr Cech, hamstring injury, back on the 28th of October. Is that what it says? Yeah. It says expected to return to full training in 3 to 4 weeks. Mavropanos, groin strain, should be also back on the 28th of October. I think this is all after the international break. And they say expected to return to full training by the end of October. Ashley Maitland-Niles, all together now. Oh, thank you very much. Broken leg, which sounds a lot worse than it actually is, should be back, 22nd of October. And it says progressing well and now expected to return to full training in early October. The next one is Lauren Koscielny, Achilles injury, should be back the 25th of November. This says, I want to come back when I am fully ready and can focus 100% on the game. Trust me, I can't wait to be back on the pitch, but I have to be wise. Rushing my return would not be a good thing. Well, captain knows best. The next one to go and do is the under 23s. We'll start with those. Oh, that bloody Lacazette had about 3 big mouthfuls and it's going to start repeating on me. Oh dear, goodness, no one here to tell me off. We went to Leicester and beat them 2-1 on this 1st of October. Omalo scored a goal and Burton scored a penalty. So we beat them, and anyone for the first team played. Ilya in goal, Julio unpronounceable, played at centre-back, and all the rest. John Jules still playing in the under-23s, considering he's only, 17, 18? And the rest of them were all young men. And we in that league, we are joint top with Everton in the under-23s. Both got 14 points from 7 games. They've got a goal difference of 10. Ours is 6. Spurs are down in 9th with 8 points and a goal difference of -5. That's good because you're shit. The next one to move on to is going to be the under-18s. Our last game was against... I've put it in another window. We beat West Ham 2-1. On the 6th of October, they came to our place, which is Shenley Training Centre, Shenley, Hertfordshire. Don't know the postcode. So we beat them 2-1. Someone who is S-Bal, Solbal. His entire name is S-O-L-B-A-L. Solbal. I like that. That's good. He scored first, 7th minute. And then they scored a goal just after half-time. And then Flaherty, Stan, that's a bit of a name for a young man. Stan scored in the 83rd minute. And I don't recognise any of the names there. We had a Daly Campbell, a Spencer Adams. We only had 2 double-barrel surnames. They had Appiah Forson, two Appiah Forsons. Is that right? No. He was subbed off. There you go. That's what it was. They managed by Steve Potts. He used to play for West Ham. And we are now top of that league after 7 games, 18 points, plus goal difference of 15. Spurs are second on point behind on 17 with a goal difference of plus 20. But that league, there's some massive scores. Fulham beat Reading 7-0 in that. We beat Norwich 5-1. What other big scores have been? So there you go. Spurs went away to West Ham and beat them 9-0 because Spurs tend to have a load of decent players they use for those. Scored all the goals. That bloke there, Richards, got 2 and the Parrott got 2. I don't even want to know their names. Scumbags. The Arsenal ladies haven't played since the 23rd of September when we beat West Ham 4-3. Game before that, beat Yeovil 9-0. Game before that, we beat Lewes 9-0. 7-0 against Yeovil, 9-0 against Lewes. Beat Liverpool 5-0 in the first game of the season. So, brilliant. Their next game isn't until the 14th of October, which is going to be Sunday. So that's when the league gets going again. I think they've had, because the women beat Brazil in an international friendly, possibly beat them 1-0. So that's probably why they haven't been playing. Over to George Bird now. I haven't got the right part on the page, so I should just... actually, it's the first thing on his page. Go to... No WWs, it doesn't use any. arsenalyouth.wordpress.com. And that's George Bird, spelt with a J. Go and follow him on Twitter. He has wrote up that Reece Nelson came on as a 62nd minute and scored his second Hoffenheim goal in the 80th minute as his lone side lost 2-1 to Eintracht Frankfurt. Bloody hell. What a player. Only a bit part player and scoring goals already. Takuma Asano went off injured after 14 minutes as Hanover beat Stuttgart 3-1. David Ospina played the whole game and kept a clean sheet as Napoli beat Sassuolo 2-0. I think Ospina's old man said that he doesn't think he's coming back to Arsenal. He's found the old David Ospina, and so he wants to stay in Italy. In this weather, I'd want to stay in Italy. Matt Macey played the entire 90 minutes and kept a clean sheet. Moment of silence. Oh, the fans go mad. So, they'll beat Wimbledon. AFC Wimbledon 1-0. Well done, Matt Macey. I was saying he was doing rubbish, letting in loads of goals, but Chris said, because Chris lives down in the Plymouth area, they don't speak like that, and he said people are raving about him. He might not have said raving. People are saying he's doing really well because they're a rubbish team and he's keeping them busy. I don't know what he said, actually. I made all of that up. Christian Bielik was an unused substitute as Charlton lost 2-1 to Coventry City, who we recently beat in the League Cup. Kelechi Nawakali, I'm sure someone's told me that's not how you say it, wasn't involved as Porto B lost 1-0 to Aruka. Get Chris Akabusi to say that. Was it him? I think it might well have been the Awuga. I mean, if you're not playing for Porto B, look, there's nobody here, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go, no, there's nobody to tell me to hurry up, is there? I could do this for hours. Let's go and have a look at the Portuguese league, shall we? And let's go and have a look at the Segunda Division. Now, whereabouts are Porto B? Are they first? No. Second? No, second is Benfica B, or Benfica 2, as they put it. My team, Penafiel, are 7th. Sporting Braga 2 are 10th. And are they not 14th or 6th? They're 18th. How many teams in the league, I hear you ask? There's 18. What? They're 18th out of 18. Yeah, so they're consistent. They've won one game all season. They've scored 4 goals and got 4 points, and they're shit. Top goal scorer in that league is a bloke called Roberto. No other names I recognise in that league. So they are shit. Maybe they've played some cup games, having a really good cup run. I'll go and have a look at their fixtures. No, I don't think they play cup games. And it's no, they're doing shit. Who's their manager? Rui Barros. I recognise that name. Isn't he a Portuguese international midfielder? Going to go and have a look. He played for Porto for years and years, and Juventus and Monaco, Marseille and Porto again. A Portuguese and a midfielder. Oh, if only Chris was here, he'd bro-five me. It's like a high five, but I don't do high fives because I'm not American and I don't play basketball. So that lot can get lost. Go back there, get rid of this. That page always wants to play music, Physio Room. I don't like it. Then finally, Callum Chambers wasn't permitted to play as Fulham lost 5-1 to Arsenal. We know about that. What else is there? George on Twitter is at JEORGEBIRD. Lovely bloke. We should have got him on by now to do another show. What's this then? Bloody hell, he looks about 12. It's a picture of a young bloke at Arsenal when he was younger, because he can't be that age and still playing for the under 18s or under 23s. No, 18s. I don't think there's anything else we can talk about, is there? I think I heard on Goonies in the USA podcast, they were saying that Emile Smith-Rowe is the first goal scorer to score for Arsenal who was born this millennium. Wow, that makes you feel old. So I am old. If anybody wants to send me chocolates or flowers, just send them to Chris, and then Chris will stick them in a sailboat and sail them up to me. Right, I've got to go now. Hope you've enjoyed this last bit. I've got to go, and I forgot to mute the laptop. Bloody hell. That could have been disastrous, ladies and gentleworms. Luckily, the mic audio I'd set to mute that as well, rather than mute the Skype call. That'd have been annoying, wouldn't it, Bergie? Got a cat called Bergkamp. You know, Bergie, would you like to say anything to the listener? Get on with it. See, I'm not even safe here. Right then, you cheeky monkeys. Hopefully, I will sort something out for the weekend. This will be out on Thursday. Well, you'll probably know this is out on Thursday because you're going, it is Thursday, it's out. And then hopefully at the weekend, might be able to sort something out with some of the other people from ABW and outside who play things like Forza, FIFA, and just have a little chit chat about gaming, because we all love gaming. And someone suggested we do one about films, but I look at a film for entertainment value. I don't take any notice of the score, the lighting, the directing, the acting. I just watch it and go, oh, that's good. Oh, then that's it. So I'd be useless on there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you would like to hear those three on again, doing a late night North American one, let us know and we will do it. In fact, we'll probably do it anyway, even if you say don't do it. So thank you very much for listening, and good night. Got any monkey nuts? Oh, hoi, hoi, cheeky monkeys, and here's a little bit of shenanigans from before the podcast started. Yeah, you have to guess. Jeff's already guessed it, but this pod, I've given it the name already, and it's named kind of after a Star Wars film. See how many it takes you to get. It's very relevant to you three, but not me. So it's a play on words of a Star Wars film. I hate Star Wars, by the way. Just want to share that. Go on, guess.
I already know.
I know you know.
I don't. I'm trying to rack my brain. Was it one of the shitty Star Wars films?
Yeah.
Or at least one of the good Star Wars films?
Shit one.
It wasn't the Chewbacca Christmas special. It's Star Wars Christmas special.
It's something that you three are.
The Colonials Strike Back.
Attack of the
Close.
Colonials.
See, I think it should be the Colonials Strike Back. That's like the best movie in the series.
That's the Empire, though. That's
yeah, but
do I get any more votes on changing it to Shredder's one?
I don't care.
So it's sounding don't care. Oh dear.
Yeah. Attack of the Colonials is actually a little. It flows better though than the Colonials Strike Back.
Oh, and the title of the with the. Hold on, where is it? You know, I put a little bit about who's hosting it. I've put OG has warm hands, a winning smile, and smells faintly of taco meat and Old Spice, and he is joined by.
Only one of those things is true, though.
And for the And for the radio show, Shreds, I put Shredder is the puppet master, and we are his puppets, and then in brackets, or Muppets. I forgot to do that, so I've got to do that tonight after this, and this will go out Thursday. Pardon me, partly because we've got nothing coming up soon apart from maybe a gaming show. So we've already wasted 13 minutes, mostly because Dom couldn't figure out how to turn the computer on. Right, is everybody on mute?
I've been here for 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Thank you very much.
And I enjoyed all of it. All phones on mute. Everyone told their Alexas to shut up.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Let's do it.
All right, so that's recording, and that's shall we start? If you fuck up the intro, Jeff, just start again and just give yourself a 3, 2, 1, and start again.
Okay.
Lovely, jubbly. Over to you then.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, one and all, and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland.